Alright, we're going to be continuing with AutoCAD again today. Today we're going to be finishing up this whole model and getting all of our docs done. The follow-up lecture to this will go over how to laser cut out this model. So I'll let you guys know about when you can cut off and do that, because I'd recommend you get that done sooner rather than later to get it done in time. So we're going to start off with some furniture. So let's go ahead and kill a couple layers here just so we can clear up our working space. So I'm just going to hide my dimensions. We'll hide our room labels and our elevation markers. Come on. There you go. All right, so what you're going to add first is a single bed in the left room here. So what we're going to do is a single bed's going to be 3 foot by 6'3". So we'll just draw a bed out real quick here, 6'3", 3 foot, and then we'll just square this off. And then once we have this, we can go ahead and just fillet the corners, set our radius to, let's do 2 inches. We'll do M for multiple, and then we'll just click through here. And then we'll offset this down, say 1 foot 2 inches. And just kind of expand this out. There we go. And then we'll just trim away the excess that we don't need here. Throw in a rectangle for a pillow. And that's good enough for what we're doing right here. So we can take this. Again, I'm going to draw just a little line that's about 2 inches from the back right there. And then when I convert this to a block, I'm going to make sure I select the whole bed, but not that. Then I'll use this point as a reference point. So we'll go ahead and block this. We'll call this furniture, bed, and single. Base point will be right here. We've selected our objects. It's not annotative, so we'll hit OK. And now we can use this pseudo little reference point right here to snap that in the corner, and we'll get rid of that. Next, we need to build some cabinets. We're going to be doing, get ready to do cabinets a lot for this because that's a lot of what we're going to be going over. So it looks like this right now is still currently joined. So I'll go ahead and explode this just so I can grab this line. We'll offset this 24 inches or 2 feet down, and that'll indicate sort of the distance from the wall that the countertops go. We're then going to offset this another 1 foot back up, and this will be our upper cabinet. So this line represents our upper cabinets, this line represents our lower cabinets. Where are my notes? So we also need to create a small table in here and a chair. So we'll create just a 2 foot by 2 foot table, nothing crazy big. So 2 foot, 2 foot, and close it up. And then just for the sake of being consistent, let's go ahead and make this a block too. So this will be furniture table 2 foot square. And then we'll pick this point right here again so that it's offset from there. We're good to go there. Delete this. And then we'll go ahead and center it right here against that. Rotate this around. All right. The other thing we need to do here is add a chair. So we'll go ahead and build a chair real quick. Chairs are a little bit trickier. So what I usually do is I'll go grab just sort of some chair I like on the internet. Here's my chair right here that I'm going to be using. So it's going to be 17-inch seat depth, 22-inch overall depth, 20-inch wide. And then we'll save the rest of this because this will be included in elevation. So I'm going to keep that off to the side here. So we'll just go ahead and make this real quick. Oops. Oh, not that. Okay. So, like I said, 20 inches wide. The seat is going to be 17 inches deep. So that will make up our seat right there. And then let's, oops, move this a little bit out of the way. Oh, somehow turn that on. Okay. And then again, we'll offset this another 5 inches. And that'll represent the back of this seat and how far up it goes. And then I'm going to offset it another 2 inches because this is sort of a flat plane you'd see. And then from here I'll probably just, we can call it at that, or we could come back in and just do something like move this in, say 1 or 2 inches. Oops. If we wanted to kind of spice this seat up. What are you doing? No. It's not listening. Okay, we'll do this. And this just makes the chair a little bit more visually interesting to look at. And if we fillet some of these edges again, we'll take our radius, fillet. We'll take our radius down to 1 inch. Again, we'll do multiple, and we'll just round these corners. And then we'll go ahead and trim our excess again. And then we'll go ahead and block this again. So we'll block this. I'm not going to put a control point on this. And I'll show you guys why in a second. So this will be, actually, because we do actually want to change this. We had a discussion in the department over summer, and we do want to change how I show you guys this. So we'll go ahead and block this. We'll call this furniture. What do I do in for the naming conventions? Furniture dash, yeah, chair. Furniture, chair, dining, standard. And then we'll pick a point. We'll go with that point right there. All good there, all good there. Okay. So we'll take this. So one of the things that I kind of suggest there is I used to show you guys how to build chairs so they were pushed in. And apparently that's become a problem because people aren't considering the depth behind the chair. So what I would show is sort of the chair inset like this behind the table, but you also need to make sure that the chair, you can actually like get someone into that space. So if I have this chair on, let me grab this, over here, you can see that this chair would interfere with the door if someone was trying to get in there, or if someone was trying to walk behind this table and it was, set up sort of in the center of the room. Would you have space to move around this, say at a dinner party or something, right? Like the chair could only potentially move in, say, that far if you had 2 of them here. So we want to have you guys start leaving chairs out like this from things so that you can see that there's space to get into the, move the chair in and out, get into it, or walk around. Because this isn't intentionally like kind of tight space that I'm giving you guys, but I'm just trying to keep it small. So if I rotate this, we can see that that is a pretty tight area for a chair and table. And that's what we want you guys to kind of be more cognizant of as you're working. So I'm going to go ahead and put this against this wall right here. And so let's go ahead and do that right there. So that'll let me know visually, like, yes, I could move this table, both these chairs into this table, but for display purposes, we want you guys to leave them on the outside like that. Okay. That's that little detour. Where did my notes go? Okay. So we've got our furniture, we've got the bed, oh, nightstand too. So we'll just go ahead and create a quick little nightstand. Again, nothing crazy there. We're just going to do 18 inches by 24 inches. Actually, that's probably even too much. Let's just do 18 by 18. And again, we'll just do a 2-inch line right there. We'll block this furniture nightstand 18 square. Picking a point, we'll go right there, hit OK. I'll move it right here to associate this. And then we're going to go ahead and just grab this face right here, snap it to that, and then we'll move it another 2 inches so that way it's kind of nicely aligned right in that corner like that. Okay, we need to create a sink over here. So right here we're going to make a sink. There's a couple different ways to do that. What I'm going to do is offset this up. We're going to do 2 inches up. We're going to grab this line right here from the wall, or at least that's what I'm going to do. Give it a 1 foot off from there. We're going to grab this back. Oh, that's right. Oh, did I? Yeah, I exploded that. Where is it? There it is. Okay. I'm going to do another 2 inches from the back, and then we'll say that this sink is going to be 20 inches wide. So kind of a square shaped sink right there. We'll go ahead and do a trim, but we'll just select these edges right here that make up the area so we don't have to work around too much stuff. This back of the sink I'm going to offset 4 inches. So then this will be where the faucet goes. I'll take this time to do a circle. And I'm just going to overdraw it right now. So I'm going to do a radius, diameter, 1 inch diameter. And then we'll do a 1/2 inch diameter. And these I'm just going to kind of place arbitrarily because sinks are sinks and they can have all kinds of crazy designs. So I'm just going to do that with this. And then we're going to go ahead and offset. And you can kind of play around with sinks. Sinks are kind of fun. You can do different stuff with them. So we'll go ahead and fillet this now. Radius 1 inch, multiple, and nope, there we go. So I'm going to offset this inside 1 inches here, and then I'll also do the same to the outside here. So this will get offset as such. And then we'll go ahead and just copy this, and we'll say that's the drain for our sink. So this is all our sink. We'll go ahead and draw another placeholder line in case I need to ever place this again. So see how we're just continuing to build our library of blocks. You guys want to, again, keep working on that. This is going to be a different layer, so we'll call this, oh wait, what are the dimensions? I've already forgot what I did. 20 inches? 20 inches, okay. So we'll do block. This will be under plumbing instead of furniture. Plumbing, sink, or we'll do kitchen, sink, and 20 inch. Pick a point. Grab that one right there. Good to go. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let's start on elevations. Now that we know where our furniture is and what our furniture is, we can start doing elevations. So this is kind of a long demo, not long demo, but kind of technical demo. But this is something that this is how I do it, and it's, I don't know, it works well for me, and I think you guys pick it up pretty quick. Let me try and move these to the walls layer and then hide the walls. Okay, so oh, let's turn off our sections too. We don't need this. Okay, so what I'm going to do, we'll start on this room because it's a little bit easier, is I'm going to do a selection, and I'm going to do that selection from inside this wall, which is why I just hid that hatch. And what I want to do is I want to grab everything that touches this wall. So I'm going to start inside here, and we're going to go right to left. And you can see we're picking up this door, the bed, this nightstand, the window, but also all the wall surfaces. Okay, so I'm going to do that selection, and then I'm going to copy it. Actually, let me do a copy CO, and we'll bring this out here, and this will be what we use. So what I do is what I call unrolling. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start with this north face right here. So this one, good to go. What we're going to do is I'm going to make a selection that grabs everything else that I want for this next. Oh, sorry, we have to explode that. Explode that. Okay, so I'm going to do a selection like this, and deselect that, deselect the bed. I want to keep those where they are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a rotate. So I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees like that. And then I'm going to move this over 5 feet. And then now that that's good, I see all this going on here. So I'm just going to do this next one, rotate this 90 degrees. And make sure when you do this that you, like this was my rotation point right here. So when you do this, make sure you do your selection so that you leave the part that's here for that door jamb. That stays there, and then we're going to move this next part over 5 feet again. And so this is why I call it unrolling, is because you're kind of unrolling this room in a way where you now have a reference point you can use for your elevations. So these lines right here, I'm going to use as the floor for my room. And then these gaps physically represent exactly where things are in this room, right? So this is my north elevation. I know my bed's right here. I know this nightstand is right here. In this, on the east wall right here, I know this is exactly where my door is, and I have the door physically pictured right here as a reference. I know that this wall is basically blank, or at least I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's blank. So this one's pretty simple, and then this one I know I have a window right here, okay? So what we're going to do first is we're going to come through and draw all the walls that go up. So I'm going to do a little bit of a change to this for the sake of this demo. So north wall is going to be 8 foot, but this front wall is going to be, let me check. Okay. Oh, there. Okay. So yes, our north walls are going to be 8 foot, and then our front wall here is going to be 10 foot because we're actually going to add some stuff here for the laser cut. We'll get into that when we get there. So for now, what I've got is an 8 foot wall for this back. So I'm just going to head and finish this one out. So there's our 8 foot wall. Now this is going to be our east wall right here, and this is going to transition from 8 foot on the left side to 10 foot on the bottom side here. So what I'll do is I will draw another 8 foot. Oops, that's 8 inch. And then over here, I'm going to do 10 foot, and then we can draw that down. This wall is going to be 10 foot on both sides, so I can just turn this into a square. And then this one again is going to start out at 10 foot and come down to 8 foot. And so if you're doing this, what you should see, if your walls are aligned correctly and everything, is you should see that because these are different heights, I should see this transition. So we go from low, low to high, high, high to low, right? If these were out of order or something else was wrong, these peaks wouldn't match or something else, you know, like if this one was for whatever reason over here, I would know something would be wrong. So this sort of serves up so as a fact check, or not a fact checking, but a verification that this is, you know, the correct order and sequence and everything. All right, so let's go ahead and start with this one first. We've got the bed and we've got this nightstand. So what I can do with this is I can explode this nightstand, and then we'll go ahead and move this up. These are just arbitrary points I'm picking right now. so they don't really mean anything. We'll go ahead and offset this, and we're just going to model this as a little mini cabinet. We'll go 6 inches up, and then we'll offset 1 inch. We'll do multiples, so we'll do this twice. We'll do this twice, and then we'll offset this 1 inch up, and then 2 feet. Oh, 2 feet's too high. 18 inch. Okay, so now we've got this whole crazy mess right here. We'll go ahead and just trim this out, and we'll probably have to do 2 passes with the trim tool. This goes away. Nope. Like that. Oh, is it going to last all the way through for us? It did. Oh, no, it didn't. Okay, I'll have to redo this part right here. So these are my legs. This is the cabinet. And then we can go ahead and offset this, say down 3 inch. Let's do 5 inches. 1 inch. And then if we want to get fancy, we can put in like drawer pulls and stuff. Oh, come on. CO reference there. Okay, so quick, easy way to build a little nightstand right there. We could put a light on it if we want, but we're not going to. Same thing with the bed. I can go ahead and just explode the bed. And so we'll go ahead and offset actually the floor 25 inches up. We'll offset it down again 1 foot. And then again 6 inches. So this will be sort of our mattress area. This will be the sort of frame around the bed. And then again, we'll do the same thing where we take this to measure the approximate sort of, I don't know, height or whatever. And then we'll again offset this 1 inch. Multiple times. And then we'll go ahead and trim all this out. Actually, let's get rid of all this down here. And so kind of what I want you guys to take away from this is that don't get too crazy on your furniture. You can if that's what you want to do, but realistically it can be fairly simple. But you don't have to spend a ton of time on it. Okay, so there's our bed, stands, there's our nightstand. That's good to go. One other thing that I always show you guys if you want to make things a little bit nice, well, we could block these. You guys understand the process. One thing I like to do that kind of makes things look a little bit nicer too is just offset 2 inches from the bottom here, and this would be our baseboards for the room. And I feel like that kind of makes rooms look just a little bit nicer. So there we've got, this is the north elevation, so just do a double check. North elevation, we have the we have the nightstand and the bed. This one is going to be again a flat wall, so we're going to offset this 6'8", and this will be the height of this door. And then we can just go ahead and extend these up. And we'll close that off. And then get rid of the door. We'll delete that. Put this over here. Okay, so this is our door right here. Let's go ahead and make like a fancy door. So we'll go ahead and offset this 36 inches. This will be, what we're doing right now with this is figuring out where our door handle goes. So this will be the handle position. It's going to be 3 inches from the side. And then we will just put a little, what was it? We're still in diameter, 2-inch diameter circle right there. And then another 1-inch diameter circle. And then we can just get rid of these other lines. And then if we want to put in like a fancy design here, we can offset this, say 3 inches. No, sorry, let's not do 3 inches. Let's do 6 inches. And then this one will offset 1 foot. Offset 6 inches. Offset 1 foot. Offset 6 inches. And then if we trim away some excess here, we'll get rid of that on its own later. Oops, no. Wow, this one gave up super early on me. Okay, so these lines we can get rid of. No, not all of those. And then we'll go ahead and redo this. So trim. There's our fancy door design, and then we'll just move this up slightly to a line. So it's going another 2 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches up. That should be fine. Okay, so there's our fancy door. Again, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to offset this up 2 inches. This will be our baseboards here. And not going to have it around the door there. And then the door itself gets its own wrap. So we'll do that. And then we'll do a fillet set to radius 0. Didn't do multiple. Okay. So there's a frame around our door, and then one last trim. Oops, did I not do it? Trim. And the wrap for the door should supersede the baseboards. So we've got that right there. This room, super simple. Offset 2 inches, and you're done. This room, I don't think we ever determined what the height of these windows is going to be, so we'll call these 4 feet tall, so they're 3 foot wide. Windows, what we're going to do is we're going to offset this 6'8" up. And then we'll just reference this corner again. And then we're going to offset this back 4 feet down. So we're working under the assumption that all windows are framed at 6'8" at the top and then come down with their height. Once I've done that, I can go ahead and get rid of this. We can get rid of that. We'll expand this out. This is where the type of window that was specified is important. So like I did these as just sort of single pane, nothing going on in these. So I didn't do like a double hung, and you guys will have another class that gets deep into the windows and stuff. So for this, I'm just going to offset these 2 inches. Actually, let's do this the easy way. Instead of multiple steps, we'll go ahead and just join it. Offset 2 inches to the outside. And then we'll also do 2 inches offset there. And then something that I've kind of got a habit of doing is just on the bottom, I'm going to pull this up 1 inch. Oh, let's do this. And that extra little bit of thickness on the bottom kind of weights that window so that you get a feeling that this is kind of the sill. And then one last little touch is a lot of people like to do kind of the double slash through here to indicate that this is a window and not just some sort of empty blank space. However you want to do this, I don't know. I never like mine. but this kind of indicates that this is a window of some sort. Oops. So once I'm done unnecessarily adjusting these, and again, you could block this off, but that is good to go. So that's one room done. We'll go ahead and do the other one now. I'm going to do the same right to left selection. We'll copy this out here. And then again, we'll unwrap this. So I've got that right there. Rotate. Oh, I'll need to move this down. Not 1 foot, 5 foot. And we've got to explode this. What? No. I think we're good there. Okay. Rotate this. And just to clarify something usually too, what I do is that point that I rotated here is just, it's like right there. So I just come a little bit to the left and then I do that selection. I don't move too far when I do that. Oops. 5 feet. Hello, little window. Where did you come from? Oh. Five. That's a 6. 5 feet. And last one. Okay, so let's go ahead and move all these down a little bit too, because we're going to need some space. Okay, so this one is going to be our first one. I will show you guys the quick, dirt, cheap, easy way to do cabinets, because we're going to have to show upper and lower cabinets here. So we've got this wall. We'll go ahead and just go up again. This is our north wall, so this is going to be 8 feet. You have to constantly be thinking about that when you're working on stuff like this. Okay, so we've got this right here. We need to do our countertops, so I'm going to offset 3 feet. This will be our lower cabinets. We're going to offset this again. We'll go ahead and do 18 inches here, so offset 18 inches up. And then we'll go ahead and make these 30 inches tall. So offset 30, and there's a space. Don't worry about that. That's just how it is. Okay, and then we also need to offset this again 3 inches. Or sorry, 4 inches. Okay, so these are where our cabinets and drawers and whatnot are. These are upper cabinets, and then this is the toe kick. Here's your area for your backsplash, and this is the area above the cabinets. We'll go ahead and break this apart. So what I'm going to do is just divide this area in half right here, and then this I'm going to offset 1 inch to each side. So I'm going to do one that way, one that way. We're going to do this offset 1 inch. I should really set the multiple for this. And then if we look at this, we can go, oh, that's too much space to just divide this in half. But you've always got your slide out pulley drawers right here. So we'll go ahead and offset this. Actually, let's do 6 inches. And then we'll offset this. Oops. Offset 2 inches. And actually, these need to move. I did this wrong. Do an extra inch there. Move this up 1 inch. Because this, I want to get a nice 2 inch gap there. These need to move. Let's see. So our countertop's going to be 1 inch tall. So this needs to move down 3 inches. No. Yeah, no, that's fine. Offset 1 inch. No, I'm going wrong here. this stays here. We'll offset this 1 inch down. This comes down 1 inch. Let's see. Okay. So now what I've got is I have 2 sections. I'm actually going to subdivide these again. So what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and trim this out so we can see what we're working with better. So we'll get rid of the toe kick area. This should be flush all the way through. Get rid of this here, because this will be 1 pair of drawer faces. And then this right here, we'll clear that out. This we can get rid of, because this whole bar across the top here is the face or the edge of the countertop. So I've got this, basically what I have is this 2-inch spacing between drawers, which is probably too much, but we're just going to go with it. Nope, that's okay. That's as far as we got. So we'll get trim the rest of this out. Okay, now that we've got that, we can go ahead and divide these in half, because that's what I was going for right there. So the idea is that these would swing left and right open, and then these, I guess that is probably still too wide. I could divide those in thirds. We're not going to bother. Let's go ahead and just go with this. So from here, what I'll do is I'll just offset this, say 2 inches, offset 1, oops. Excuse me. All right. And then we'll go ahead and actually, we'll move this down another inch. We'll go ahead and create some slightly fancy cabinets here. Okay. So what I mean when I say slightly fancy cabinets is we're going to go ahead and do an arc. So we'll do start. Oh, no, not this one yet. Let's shrink this down to here. And then actually let's just do an ellipse. That's a little bit easier to draw with this. Ellipse. We'll go here to here and there. And then we'll do a circle right here. And again, we'll do that here. So now we've got some fancy drawer faces here with this little design in them. And we can go ahead and trim the rest of this out. So again, just kind of trying to remember where everything is here. Oops, did I go too far there? Yeah, I went too far. It's okay, we can redraw that. Okay, so we'll fix this. Watch out for any little extra points there. We have just one little guy right there. Got one little straggler there, and trim that and that. Okay, so we have slightly fancy cabinet faces here. So what we'll go ahead and do is we can do a CO. We'll use this reference point right here. Copy this all over the place. So there's different styles you can do, obviously. Let's say you wanted to do kind of something else where maybe you just have sort of 1-inch borders here, I could do a different style. Actually, let's do 1.5 inches. Oops. Oops. Boy, that one stopped working fast, didn't it? So you could trim that like that, and then again, if this was the style for these, we could go through and copy this. Again, use a similar reference point. Oops. So however you make your cabinets, it's generally fine. And then once you've got them, we go ahead and just copy this whole set. And I'll use this bottom corner as a reference. And then what we'll do is we'll just move everything up here. Oops. Net load, what is net load? Move. So we'll move this up 6 inches. And then we'll just move everything down here. We'll get all of these, move them down 6 inches. And then we'll just do this and get them all down here. If you want to do things like drawer pulls for these cabinets, you can go ahead and add those in. But I think for the sake of simplicity, stick with something like these guys right here. Oh, come on. Okay, so there's that. The last thing we have here is our sink. I'm going to just go ahead and draw this line up right here. Again, this sink is going to be... Sinks are kind of all over the place. So you can kind of design your own. We haven't specified anything. But let's go ahead and just do this right here. And there we go. That's the kitchen, which is usually the worst part here. Okay, so let's get back to the rest of this. So again, we've got our east elevation, remembering that we're doing our sloped roof here. So again, I'm going to do 8 feet, 10 feet, and then join them together. So now that we have cabinets here, we have another set of things we need to worry about, which is the side profile of those cabinets. Things that are built in, we need to show that they're cut away. So these will function, because these are built into the structure, we need to show cutaways here, whereas because this bed and the this little nightstand are not built in, we're not going to show them as such. So, critical dimensions, again, we're going to offset this 3 feet. We're going to offset this 4 inches. We're going to offset this back wall, or sorry, we're going to offset this 18 inches. And then I don't even remember what this one's at this point, but there. And we can just, use this drawing as another reference to bring stuff over. We're going to make these 1 foot deep. Sorry. No, not 1 foot. We're going to make them 13 inches because they're 1 foot interior. Okay. And then this one, because, oh, sorry, and then we'll do one more here. This is going to be 2 feet. And then this right here is going to be our countertop. So we're going to offset this down 1 inch. And then we're going to offset this back another inch because the cabinets are going to be offset inwards from there. And then again, the toe kick is going to be another 4 inches from that. So we're going to offset this back another 4 inches. And then let's clean up our mess. So we've got that. We can get rid of all this. We can get rid of all that. And then let's clean out this right here. And then we'll do that first offset. So again, here's our countertop. Here's our drawer face. And then here's our toe kick. So we'll go ahead and clear that out. Oh, did I grab the wrong one? No, we're good. Yeah, we're good. Okay. And then we'll do that. And then one last thing here, we will trim this. And so what this does is this gives us, here's our upper cabinets, here's the profile of these cabinets. Because the thing that we can't show people, like these two lines right here, that's all we can see from our floor plan view. We need more ways to illustrate what these look like. So here's our illustration showing what these look like. Here's our side profile showing what they look like. Let's go ahead and fill these in. So I'm going to do a hatch. And we'll go ahead and get this one right here. Let's see what our settings are. We'll go ahead and crank this scale up. Why does it say 1 inch? I don't know what 1 inch means. Yeah, it's always decimal. Okay. Let's just set this to something like 6. See how it looks. Let's go 12. Okay. So we'll fill those in there, and then we can go ahead with the rest of this. So here's our floor. Here's our baseboards. Oh, shoot, no, we have a window. There we go again. Okay, so one thing we can cheat on a little bit here is because these windows are centered, theoretically this right here should be the same distance from the edge of the window. But let's just double check real quick. So if this is right here, it should line up right with the inside center, or right with that, which it does right there. So we can be sneaky and save ourselves a little bit of time, copy this window down, and we're done. We also, however, have to contend with our table. Oh no, sorry, table's on the other wall. We're good, we can keep going. Okay, so we're gonna offset this 2 inches, and then we'll just move this back over here. And there we go, that wall is done. This one, we can cheat a little bit here too. So again, I'll do 10 feet up, 10 feet up, and close it. Now, our door right here is very similar to the one that we're using down there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to use this corner right here and put it right there. So we should be offset from here. Let's go ahead and clean that part up. And then we'll reselect our door right here. And I'm going to mirror this right in here and erase my source objects. Now I don't have to redraw that whole door because I've got the door right here. I just have to double check that like the handle's on the correct side, which it is. It should be away from the wall. And so we're good with that. We do have another window right here. So this will be a slightly different window. We'll go ahead and do, again, we'll offset this up 6'8". So this will be the top of our window. And then we'll say this is a 6 foot tall window because this is right next to the entryway. So we'll take this, offset this 6 foot down, and then we can go ahead and delete that. There's our bottom right there. We'll go ahead and get rid of all these other lines and close that off. And then let's go ahead and join these, then offset them 2 inches. And then we'll move this up 1 inch just to weight the bottom. And then again, line, line, line. God, I'm never happy with what I do on that. Okay. And then, so you can see as we've gone through, we've kind of, got a little bit more critical mass, right? These took a while. This door took a while. That took a minute. These took a minute. But now, like, we've kind of cheated our way through, like, these last two. And that's kind of how it just goes. We'll go ahead and get rid of that. And that. And that's that room. And then, let's see. And then we have this wall right here. So this one I'm going to actually have to do the table, but we do have the advantage of having a door right there. So let's go ahead and do, again, match up to the height right here, and then we'll come back down to 8 feet over here, connect those up. And then, okay, so here's our table right here. Again, I'm just going to go with the same idea. We will do, let's see, let's bring these up first. So this is just a little table right here, nothing big. We're going to do 30-inch height. We'll do 1-inch thickness, and then we'll offset these. Let's do 1 inch in. So same setting as the nightstand. And then we'll go ahead and just do like, just to make it a little bit fancier, we'll do like a offset 1.5 inches. And this will be like just a little brace inside of that table. So again, we'll clear off the outside mess here, and then we'll get these outside extremes, and that, and that, and then trim up our bottom. Oops, trim. Okay, and then again, I should have kept my reference for my dining chair. So we've got this right here that we can use as a reference. Our seat height is going to be offset 18 inches. We're going to offset this 3 inches down. And then if we just draw lines up, this makes up our seat. We didn't connect these. And then again, we'll keep using our offset 1 and 1. And then we have our back here. And I'm going to go kind of high up right there. This is going to be, my reference said 37.5 inches. So we're going to do offset 37.5. So that's the back height of this chair that I grabbed off the internet. I said I was going to do, what, 2 inches right there. So then all I'll do is I'll just connect these dots. So this is our fold right here. So this is going to connect these two. So we'll just go like that. And then we'll offset this 2 inches. And I will use this as a reference to finish up the back. If it'll do, there we go. It wasn't doing the extension for me. Okay. So we've got our back of our chair, and then we'll just extend this down to right there. Pull that out. This isn't a perfect chair. It's a good enough chair for a demo. Let's go ahead and trim everything out here. I'm going to do something a little sneaky with the legs, so I'm going to leave them as 3 bars for right now. Oops. I'm going to pull that. I have a little line there, so I'm making sure I'm not cutting that away, because I am going to use that in a moment. Oh, no, leave that. Okay. So we'll get rid of those. Okay. So my sneaky thing I was going to do is I'm going to move this over here. Move this over here. And then we'll take the middle one here. Move it there. So we're just using leftover points from those offsets to give ourselves slightly fancier legs is what I'm doing right here. Okay, so there's our fairly simple chair, which we can do that. And then if we wanted to get a little fancy here, we could do something like, again, just do an ellipse. Like that. Yeah, that's still too tall. So we could do something just like that right there that would kind of make it a little bit fancier if we wanted to. If you want to step up your modeling game or whatever. This one, let's go ahead and bring this in to right there. And then I'm just going to freehand place that right there. And then again, we could fillet some of these edges here. This is good enough, again, for, I mean, what are you guys on, day 4 of AutoCAD? It's fine for what we're doing. Again, I would highly recommend blocking these, but for the sake of this demo, I'm just going to mirror this across. Do not erase source objects. We also need to deal with the fact that the cabinets are also on this wall. So again, I'm going to just copy these from over here. I'll mirror them where they stand. And then I will move these straight into the wall like that. Again, we have another door here. It's going to match up with this one right here because of the framing. So I'll go ahead and just do a CO and place that door right there. Do watch out for little extra bits like that right there that get duplicated within things. We try to keep those to a minimum. And then there. And then we just need to do a couple things here to trim all this up and make it look gooder, as if this was in front of everything. So we'll just get rid of a couple things that are behind there, make that chair pop out. Yeah, that is what it is. Okay, and then we'll offset this up 2 inches. We'll take care of this right here. Nope. There we go. And then, oh, let's do a trim. Trim. Let's get rid of that, that, and that. And then we'll just chase our table and chair legs across here. And there we go. So that's all of our interior elevations right there. That's it. So if you guys are at this point, I would say now switch over to the other video, do the laser demo. I'm going to keep going on this because we have a couple more things to take care of. So I will see you guys in that one, and then I'll see you back in here at this point. Okay, so for those of you who are still here, we're going to go ahead and work on our section cuts. So last time what we did was we made the section marker right here, and we're actually going to create a second one. So we'll do another one. I'll go ahead and place it right here. We'll deal with the symbols that are there later. So first section, again, similar to this unwrapping, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select through here, and I'm going to grab something like that. I'll bring it down here, and again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this section line right here. This is the one I'm going to be doing first. We'll do this other one second so we can get rid of that. Sorry, one second. Okay, so I have this right here. This is going to be something that I use to reference for this. So what we'll do is this is going to be my baseline. So right here I've got my walls. Another thing I need to be worried about here as well is where the line is relative to other stuff here. So I've got this corner right here that I know matches up with this interior section right here. So what I can do, and this is basic trig, no, for those of you who love math. So I'm going to rotate this so it faces this angle right here. And then I'm going to move this so that this angle matches here. So what I've effectively done here is I know that my section cut goes through this space. I know this distance right here, so I'm moving it so I can get this distance right here, which is going to tell me what my height is right here. So this right here is the height for this section cut based on this gap from here in this corner. So this is going to be my section cut height. So what I'm going to do is I'll place this there and there. And then we can go ahead and delete these because we don't need these. Did I really just paste that under? I must have done a bad selection. Because those are, okay. So, let's see, we can, so what we'll do next is, this is our height. Wow, that's actually really close to that. Let's go ahead and finish this part up. So let's wrap this around. What we're looking at here is because there's a door right here, we need to have this wall represented as well. Even though there's a door here, a section cut's going to cut through it, but we want to show some way that there is in fact a door here. So we're going to offset this 6'8" for the door, and then this will just be a gap, and we'll hatch this area, and then this will just be these lines to indicate that this is an opening, not a permanent cut or a drop down or something like that. We're not going to show furniture or doors in here, so we're going to get rid of those. This, I don't get into building like roofs or framing or construction pads really with you guys. We only have like today and tomorrow with AutoCAD. So we don't get crazy deep into structural stuff. So for the sake of this class, go ahead and use a 1 foot thickness for your roof. So we'll go ahead and do offset 1 foot. And then this wall should already be the 6 inches that we set right there when we did our initial offset over here. So I don't need to worry about that. We'll go ahead and run a fillet. Fillet radius 0 multiple, and we'll use that to clean this up like that. And then for the base, go ahead and use 2 feet. So we'll do the offset 2 feet. Is that right? No, okay. And then we'll explode this because I don't need that doing stuff on me. Okay. And then again, we'll run a fillet radius 0 multiple. Fillet that out. We'll do the same thing with this edge, and then we just need to trim away some of our excess here. Oh, I think that, just that, right there. Okay, and then we'll do a hatch, we'll do a solid fill, and that's all we need to do for that one. So then our next one is going to be right here. And so we'll do the rotation, or we'll do this selection right here. And we'll go ahead and place this right here. And then this one's going to be a little bit easier. Which way do I want to go? Let's look across the room. Actually, let's move this so it's visually more interesting. We'll do it right there. So I will do my selection through here. And we'll have it look to the right. So in order to have it look to the right, we need to rotate this so that right is facing up. And then I'm gonna just sort of tweak this. It didn't work. So that the line is on the same baseline just as that right there. Now this one's a little bit safer to do because we already know what our interior dimensions are here. So we already know that this back wall right here, let's go ahead and explode that. We know that we've got, or we can offset this 8 feet. And then we can offset it up again to get to that 10 foot. And we know that these are our interior dimensions, so I'm grabbing this interior wall right here. That's the other section. That's the door. This is that. We'll go ahead and offset this 6 inches this way, 6 inches that way. We'll connect the interior side here like that. We'll do this one 1 foot, and we'll leave that as it is for now, because we're going to do a little bit more with it. And then, again, what we're going to do is we're just going to steal this from here. So we'll do a CO. Paste that right there. We can get rid of these. We need to represent where this window is at. So this was our 6 foot tall window. So we'll offset this 6'8", and then we'll offset it back down. Yeah, offset 6 foot. Nope, I did not hit the 8 on that one. That's why that was gone. Okay, offset 6'8". Offset back down 6 foot. Okay, that looks right. And then again, we'll offset the base here 2 feet for the bottom, and then we can just clean some of this up, and then we'll talk about what we're doing with the top there. Trim, get, oop. Okay, so one of the things that we have to do on this, and if I'm probably going to have you guys, I haven't filmed it yet, but I'm probably going to have you guys do this, so you may have already done it, is we're going to extend this out another 2 feet. So this is the eave or overhang for the building. So I'm just going to offset that 2 feet right there. We'll bring this down, and I'm just going to do that. Again, we're going to do the same thing here. So I'm trying to get this reference to extend that, and then we're going to take it and we're going to extend it again another 2 feet from here. Overdraw that, and then we'll extend this again just to match up to those lines, so we don't have to do any crazy. I don't like that snap. Let's make this larger because it just snapped to that midpoint. I didn't like that. Come on. There we go. So extend that. There we go. That can move up. And then at this point, we should be able to trim all of these. Oh, no. I guess we're not trimming any of these. Such a weird tool. It's just like tables and stuff, it was fine. With this, it completely falls apart. Okay, so we'll go ahead and hatch. Again, make sure we're on solid, and we're just going to fill in that right there. So that creates our sections right there. And what we're just illustrating is this is what the shape of the space is, right? Oh, and we can get rid of that line I added in there. Okay. We have a couple other things here. So we've done our elevation sections, RCP. So we're going to go ahead and make sure both of these are on the section markers layer. We can hide these. Let's do a little bit of cleanup work here. And by cleanup, I mean add more stuff. So we're going to create another layer. One thing that I want to mention is that I have to kind of pick and choose what I'm showing you guys in these videos, because again, I only have 6 days total really to jam through all of AutoCAD. So we don't really discuss AIA standards or any sort of layer naming standards. So I just kind of inject this here at this point for you guys. So what we would call furniture is typically something, well, let's do furniture for right now. Uh, so we'll create layer for furniture. We'll make, oops, I just clicked on that. We'll make this, brown, like right there. I think Casework is a good example of this. So if we were doing the full boat, like AIA, American Institute of Architecture, or USN CAD standards, the right way to do this for example, the Casework would be A. So you would indicate what your, sort of base architecture or your base layer would be. So this would be architectural A. And then we would do dash casework, which is cabinet, fancy word for cabinets. And then we would have a base layer for a casework, right? I think it's blue. I forget which blue code. We'll just do this one. So we would have a casework would be the standard casework, and then we might have a casework upper, or you might have a casework over. You might have a casework lower. And so what you guys would end up with when you actually get out into the field, what you're going to see is not like no one really does this unless it's a smaller firm. What you'll end up with is 200 layers of like, one specific thing, and then a subset, and then an upper, lower, and a standard. And it can get kind of complex. So I'm not going to go crazy on you guys showing you all that because, again, we don't have a lot of time and there's a lot of standards to go into. What I want you guys just to recognize, and I'll do it for the lighting too, is just how these different things are labeled. So again, we're talking about architectural things here for casework. We're also going to go and add in, because we're going to do RCP and then lighting next. So we'll go ahead and add those in there here now. And so in this case, what you would have was E wire over, and we're going to make all of our electrical yellow. I don't think that's standard, but that's what I do because sparks. E, and then this will be light and switch. And this is another thing I wanted to get you guys to notice is a lot of the way that a lot of these things sometimes get abbreviated, just by pulling vowels, that's the word, vowels out. So we would have wire over, wire switch. What else do we need? Oh, we need light, just light. So you would have E light. So these would be our electrical layers because they're E. This would designate a wire overhead, a light switch, and then lights. This is, again, casework upper, casework over, lower, and then casework. So one thing we do need to do, though, is we need to set hidden. So we have, for our uppers or overs, we're going to go ahead into this. We're going to click on that line type, and what it's going to give us is this menu. We haven't loaded in any line types yet. So we'll go ahead and hit load, and then we're going to scroll down here and find, I've always had better success with hidden next to. That's just the way that it works for me. Some people say it's hidden, some people say hidden too. The secret is just sort of finding out what works for you. That's really all it is. So on our uppers, this is going to designate that this is something that is above the cut plane or higher than other things. We're going to do the same thing for our wires here. So we've got those set to hidden next to. We'll deal with some of that later. Let's go ahead and close this. We'll move our furniture to our furniture. Oh, these can go too because these are furniture. And then we'll go ahead and hide furniture. And then technically this is going to go as casework. This is going to go as casework over. Okay, so see these dashes? This is the number one thing I have you guys following up with me. So the way to manage this is you're gonna type, oh, come on, LT scale. So this is going to set a default line type scale. What we're going to do is we're going to type 16 here, and if it gets better, we're going to use that, and if not, we're going to do that, and we're going to do 1/16, and that's too fine. So that just helps me establish where I am in this hierarchy. So it looks like I want to go sub 1, I want to do a fraction. So instead I'm going to do 1/4 inch, and that's what I'm looking for right there. So there's a couple decent dashes right there. That's what I'm going to want for this. So I'm going to use LT scale of 1/4. We'll deal with a couple other things here. So those are set. We'll go ahead and grab our sink, move this to the plumbing layer. Oh, I didn't make a plumbing layer. Again, if we wanted to go hard, it'd probably be like P sink or something. Off the top of my head, I have no clue what that one would be. But we'll go ahead and make this like, I don't know, fun blue color. I hate so many of these blues. So we'll do P sink. And then, oh yeah, that's everything. So let's go ahead and hide these. We'll get rid of our sink. We'll get rid of these cabinet layers. Okay. Actually, let's bring the cabinets back real quick while I've got this here. Because let's keep going on the scale here. So that looks fine there, and that looks fine there. Let's say it didn't look fine here, because this one is 1/8 inch. This one is 1/4 inch. But let's say it didn't look right? So I told you about LT scale. This is line type scale. This is a global scale factor. There's also a PSLT scale, which changes the paper space line types, or turns it on and off. So if I set this to 0, and then type regen all, it's going to do something weird. And so you can see here that I have it disabled now. This is the default line that it's going to be there. If you don't want it to do that, generally you're going to want to keep PSLT scale on. So I'm going to do PSLT scale, set it back to 1, and then again, regen all. That's the number one thing you have to remember when you do that, is you have to tell it to regen. It's not going to by default. The other option is MSLT scale, and this is going to turn it on and off in the model space. So if we do set that to 0 and then regen all, again, you can see here that it's not scaled at all either, so it's very tiny. So we'll run MSLT scale, set it back to 1, regen all, and there we have those showing up. Just double check that they're showing up correctly. Okay, so generally you don't want to mess with the others. You just want to deal with the LT scale, and that's it. Okay, let's switch back to 0. Let's hide that. Okay. We need to do our RCP. So our RCP is basically just this. That's a reflected ceiling plan. That's your ceiling. One other thing we need to create is going to be the lighting and wiring. So what I'm going to do is I'll just do a line here. I'm going to create just a generic fluorescent. So I'm going to do 2 feet that way, 4 feet that way, 2 feet, and 4 feet. Here's a generic fluorescent light that works in a kitchen. Or at least this is a workspace, so we would put this in here. We'll just get it centered in the room. Okay. So then this is more of our bedroom space right here. So we're going to want something a little different. Maybe we're fancy. We're going to throw in some can lights here. So we'll do a 4-inch diameter can light. And then I'm just going to copy this over to here. So these are going to be, we're going to move these to E light. Another thing that we need to do now that we've done this is that we need to create switches. So we didn't actually create a font size for this. So I'm going to go to manage text styles. I'm going to do a annotative, or sorry, not an annotative. We're going to do standard. Actually, we can use standard 1/4 inch. No, we can't. It has to be, it's going to be standard 4-inch. So let's go back in here. So we'll go ahead and copy this, and we'll just call this light switch. We'll go ahead and make this 4 inches tall, and make sure it's on Arial. We're not going to change the font family for this. We'll go ahead and do a line of text. Oops, not that. And we're just going to put an S here. Oops, did I not do single line S? Okay. And then what we'll do is this is going to be, we're going to have, oh, shoot. I guess this is going to be single switch. So we'll just put a single line through here. And what this indicates is like you've walked into a room and there's, you know, your typical bedroom. It's got like a single light switch on it. So we'll do this for a single. There you might walk into another room where there's 2 switches on the wall, right? So you'll have 1 bar here, and then you'll have another bar here. Other times you'll get into a room and there's a whole panel right there. Oops. And what are you doing? CO, come on. And you've got a set of 3 there. So what each of these bars represents is which switch in order. You can specify that, and hopefully the people building this structure will follow that. So we'll go ahead and, because we've only got 1 in each room, we're just going to use this first one, but just be aware this is kind of how you would standardize drawing that. We're going to rotate this, and we're going to move this down into this little corner right here. And again, they're going to be just offset from the corner there. And then this one, again, your light switches, you probably have never even thought about it before. But they're always going to be just inside of that door opening, right? So it's going to be just inside that space. And then we're going to head and just reference that point right there. So there's our switches. We'll go ahead and move both of these. Again, I could block them, probably not gonna. Those are light switches. And then to actually wire these up, what we're gonna use is the arc tool. And we're gonna use, what do we wanna use? Start, end, and angle. So this is the one we're gonna use. And this, we're using a slightly different way here. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna have this bounce to something. And I like finding kind of these midpoints here, or finding the center. And what you're going to do is you're going to create this kind of curvy thing, and you're going to keep bouncing between these. And what this is representing, and we'll have to trim that, is this switch controls whatever's wired to it. We could have a slightly more complicated system. So imagine that there's also, you could have a second pole here that's wired to a switched like outlet in the room. I hate those so much. Or you might have, say, a switch on the other side of the room that also controls these. So if that was the case, it would be, I think it's a slightly different symbol though for that, but for this, so like let's say that I did have this switch over here. Let's rotate. No. What am I doing? Okay. Not CO, RO. Okay. And then not copy, but move. So let's say that, you know, there was a case where I had a switch over here. Well, then this would be joined back up with it. So we would do our, nope, not that one, start and angle, go from here to here. And then you would have that there. And, but I mean, generally this isn't going to be a situation where you would have multiple switches on that side of the room. So we're just going to have single switches here, just to get you guys the experience of drawing them. This one is going to go to here, and we'll just, I want to do it, no, not that way. Control to flip it. I just want to keep it away from this door so it doesn't get too confusing. And then again, make sure those are all on the correct layer. So this is our lighting, this is our switch, this is our wiring. Okay. Oh, you know what? No, we're not going to, maybe next time I do this, but it would be more interesting if I had like under cabinet lighting here. We could turn that on and off with a switch or whatever here. Anyway, so we're trying to keep this kind of minimal though. So let's talk about drawing an actual title block. So we have, do we need to do another text size? I didn't run this through. We have, let's just use the 1/4 inch, because that's 1/4 inch right there. So what we'll do is we'll just do a line across here. We'll make this 3 inches across. This is a dirt simple title block. You can always get a little bit fancier with these. We're going to use that 1/4 inch size, so I'm going to make this a 1/2 inch, half inch offset, and then the next one will be an 1/8 inch, so we'll make this 1/4 inch. And we'll do 2 of those, and then we'll just put a border on here. And then I'm going to come in here with, let's do, we have a 1/16 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a 1/16 inch text line from this corner, and this will make sense in a second. We'll put something like name. Oh, let's change that around first. Text, justify, left. Start at the corner here, and we'll put name. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this using this 1/4 reference to both these spots. Call this project, and then we'll call this sheet. And the sheet is going to be the biggest because that's what we're really interested in when we're looking at this. Now we did 1/16 inch here, so I'm actually going to bring, if I come down a 1/16 inch, I should be right there. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down 3/32, and then I'm going to move these again another 1/32 in, so that we get a nice little kind of buffer right there, a little bit of white space. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select them all again. Actually, let's not do that. Let's do another single line, but this time we're going to step it up to 1/4. Text, start here, again, draw it across. Oh, sorry. We'll go with the 1/4. So we'll go ahead and this will be our page number, so we'll actually move this one down here. And then, again, it's 1/4 inch, so we're going to move it down 3/8 right there. And that should center that right there. And then we'll go ahead and move this over 5/8, looks like would be good. We'll switch back to our 1/8 inch. And we'll do another text line. And this is just going to be John Doe for the name. We'll copy this down and AutoCAD intro. Actually, let's call it milestone. What is this? Milestone 4, milestone 4. Okay. So then we'll take these, and then again, we'll kind of just move them down. We'll figure out what the right spacing is. It looks like 3/16, centers it. And then again, we'll move this over as well. And what are we at right there? 7/16, half inch? Half inch sounds good. And then it looks like 3 inches was a little bit too wide, so I'll just move this over 1 inch. So 2 inches should be plenty right there. Trim. So this is just a generic title block. This gets you guys started. This should always be in the bottom left, or sorry, bottom right. And then you see this dashed line right here that's going around. This is our print margin. We talked about print margins a little bit when we were doing AutoCAD a couple weeks ago. So this is an area where you don't want to have content outside of there. So you could leave this right here as it is, or you could also just extend this up to right there. You could extend this over. And just kind of square this in, and now you've got kind of like a a border around here. So you can get way fancier with these. I'm I'm not sure if you guys did title blocks in the previous class, but like we did things like we'd round the corners, do a make it a 16th inch inset, and then fill it. There's all kinds of different things you can do. This is simple enough for this class. That's all I'm looking for. It's just getting a sheet number, name, and project on there. Once you know you can do this, you can fill out all the rest of the fields you want. If you want to do date, notes, you don't have an architectural stamp because you guys are not architects. So, yeah, that's just a very basic title block. So, we're now at this point. Let's go ahead and start setting up our drawings. So, we're going to start out A100 as our first page. We're going to rename this to A100. Oops, I had caps lock on. Rename it to A100. Okay, so we've got this page set up. We'll go ahead and actually we need to turn our viewports back on, or at least mine are off. We'll turn our viewports on. This will be at 1/4 inch, and we'll go ahead and squeeze that right in there. Oh, actually, probably not yet. Let's do this first because we need to figure out what we're doing for this drawing. So this first drawing, this will be our floor plan. So we'll have our room labels. So we'll have our room labels. We will get rid of. Actually, sorry. Let's turn everything back on. Oops. Come on. So this is, you can see now why we filter stuff, right? There's too much stuff in there for us to visually see what's going on. So what we'll do is we'll create a furniture plan on, or sorry, we'll create a floor plan on this one. So what we're going to keep in the floor plan is we're going to filter these things out. So let me squeeze this in a little bit right there, because we're going to keep the dimensions on this one. We'll go ahead and keep our room labels. So and remember, this is the part now where we freeze. We don't turn things on and off. We freeze them in here. So we'll freeze our section markers. We don't need them here. We will freeze our furniture. Actually, let's start at the top. Furniture, we don't need the sink. We don't need any of our casework layers. We're going to keep our doors and dimensions. We don't need any of our electrical. Oh, did I really not? I wasn't clicked in there, so no, okay. So we don't need any of that. We don't need any of that. We're going to do furniture on a different layer, elevations on a different, or in a different drawing. We don't need the sink. We are going to want the rim labels and dimensions is basically all we want. Oh, actually, sorry. We should show sections in here. Okay. So that makes that, oops, and then set it back to 1/4 inch. Okay. Oh, we need to change our paper size too. That was the other thing we need to do because we don't have enough. This is still 8.5 by 11. So we'll go ahead and right click on here, page setup manager. We'll go ahead and modify our current page. To do this, it's usually best to select a printer. Microsoft Print to PDF or DWG to PDF, both work great. And then we'll go ahead and find an 11 by 17 full bleed, or actually not full bleed. We don't have full bleed. I guess we'll just deal with it. Okay. So 11 by 17, hit OK, and boom, we've got a bigger sheet now. Okay. So let's go ahead and move this over here. That got rid of our margins, so I'm just going to have to be careful about where things print. And I'll get rid of our border here. Okay. We'll also move this up to be right here. I'm not concerned that it's overlapping with the viewport because I'm going to hide the viewports. It looks like we still have one of our casework on and the plumbing is on. And then we need to go in here. And it looks like, I think I set these, did my section markers go away? I must have deleted them. I was messing around with this for a minute earlier. So I'll have to bring my section markers back in. So we will insert. Oh. We'll have this show up a 1/4 inch. We'll go ahead and go with default values right now. And then we'll move this right here. And then we need to take this. We'll switch back to 1:1. And then this is the part where it's really nice having a whole bunch of these pre-made. So this one I'm going to have to explode. Again, making sure that I'm on 1:1. And then we'll just rotate this. I need, yeah, okay. We'll see how this works out. I might have to draw another line there, yeah. So this line we'll have to trim. And then we'll just have to draw another line across the center. And then we'll go ahead and block this again. And this will be symbols section east. Symbols section east. Pick our point. Again, make sure you pick in the center. A couple of you guys had problems with that. Make sure it's checked to annotative. And we'll go ahead and go with that. And then we will add 1/4 inch to its settings. What are you? Little line. Okay. And then we will move this again to the handle. Oh, that's what that was. Let me go edit this real quick. I just lost a grabby point. Because I think we have that right there, and I lost the one right here. So I don't have a grabber right here. Oh no. Is it all gone? Okay. Let's mirror this. No. Close. And then we'll delete it. We'll insert it again. Symbols section east. At 1/4 inch. Now we have a point here to grab. I was just missing that little handle right there. And then we'll go ahead and copy this using the top point right here. And I'll have to shorten that. Okay. So is there anything we can do? It looks like this right here, because of the location of that of this dimension line, I'm actually going to want to move this section cut. I don't want to have to redraw it, so I'm just going to shift it slightly. Because who wants to redraw a section cut? So I'm just going to put it right there. It's effectively the same drawing. Nothing has changed, or nothing will change. And then, but I am going to be displaying that room tag right there. So we'll go ahead and shift this room tag. Just move it over a little tiny bit so it's out of the way of that section marker. Really? And then we'll just make sure our section markers even show up here. So section markers should be on. We're at 1/4 inch. All right, 1/4 inch. Double check. 1/4 inch equals 1 foot. Get the other side here too. Okay, so we got our section markers there. Let's see, why are we not showing up section markers? Oh, is it because I think I screwed it up here. Section markers. Everything here should be on. Okay. And then in here we filtered out. That's interesting. I'll have to mess around with that in a minute. Let's keep this going though, and I'll figure out why those aren't showing up. So you don't have me staring at this for 20 minutes. Okay. So we'll go ahead and move this. Now there's, over the time I've been doing this, there's been a change. It used to be that when I was initially taught, it was you would start up here and you would go drawing 1, drawing 2, drawing 3. Then someone said, okay, well, it's actually easier if you put your drawings over here because people are going, this will be bound on the left side. People will be flipping from this side. And so if they're looking for a specific drawing, it's easier for them to see this label down here as they're flipping kind of like a book. And then you would start your drawing and go 1, 2, 3. These days, a lot of the newer construction sites actually just have QR codes, and guys have ruggedized tablets. They go scan a QR code and they get a PDF. So no one's even looking at the sheets anymore. So my message to you and why I'm telling you this is I don't care which direction or side you bias it to. You can start on the right and go to the left, or you can start on the left and go to the right. All I care about is that your drawings are numbered sequentially, okay? So what I'm going to do is we're going to create our furniture plan. So the easy, lazy way that I do this is I'm going to copy this over here and then place it. Again, I'll go in here. What we'll do now is we'll filter out different things that we don't need in here. So I don't need my dimensions showing up on this one. I don't need my section cuts because they were already gone, or well, they're still gone. I need to fix that. We don't need our room labels because it's already been labeled over here. But we do need, since it's a furniture plan, we do need our furniture. And then let's go ahead and turn our casework on for this one as well. And then, yeah, we'll do our plumbing in here as well. What I kind of want you guys to take away from this part is you want to jam as much as you can into as few drawings as possible. So I don't want to have like one layer for plumbing where all I show is just this sink. I want to show as much as I can in the fewest number of drawings possible, recognizing that if I show everything all in one layer, it looks like a mess. So let's turn our elevation markers on in here as well. Oh, that's probably the problem with the section markers, is they're on elevation marker level. Okay. And then our section cuts. So we need to turn section cuts on in here. Okay, so let's go fix that real quick. So section markers. Make sure you guys are all on the section markers layer. And now if we go back, we should be correct. So we have our section markers over here. We have our elevation markers over here. Let's make sure sections are off in this drawing. So I'm not trying to repeat anything here. Now let's go in here and clean this up a little bit. So we'll get this and we'll just shift this over a tiny bit. This, I'm just going to deal with it and, oh shoot, we'll just move it kind of right there so that it doesn't blend in too hard with that area. And then we'll do 1/4 inch again. And I'm trying to keep this kind of visually lined up so that we're not super out of sync there. And then we need to create an RCP. So I've got space here. This is a little tight, but I'm going to shift that over just a little bit. Move that right there. And then move this right here. And then we'll go ahead and copy this one more time. And we'll just leave a little gap right there. And then we'll change this one so that we're filtering for our RCP electrical lighting stuff. So for this, we'll turn our lighting back on. We'll get rid of the furniture, the elevation markers. Where are they? Right there, right there. Right. Okay, and then get rid of our casework. Get rid of the sink. I missed a casework. And there we go. Okay, so now we have 3 different drawings of the same space filtered in different ways. That's what the power of using those freeze layers is. Okay, let's go ahead and put our section cuts. Actually, let's do another sheet because we have to do multiple sheets. So let's go ahead and take this one right here. This is a mess. So what I'm going to do is just to save myself a little bit of time is we'll just delete that one right there. And then we'll duplicate or copy this. So we'll move or copy. We'll do move to end. And no, we're not going to do that. Move or copy. Oh, create copy. Sorry. Copy A100. Okay. So we'll go ahead and rename this one to A101. We will change this so that it is A101. And then what do we have to create here? So we need to do our section cuts and our elevations. So my first row here, I'll do section cuts. So we'll move this over to our section cuts. 1/4 inch. I just need to find them. So this is one of our section cuts. And then we'll just realign this. I mostly didn't want to have to recopy that title block is what I did all that for. So section cut 1, we'll go ahead and copy this. And this will be section cut 2. It looks like it's a little tight right there, so I'm going to move that down. And then I'll move this one down just a little bit. Right. Nope. Ah. There we go. Okay. Next we have our elevations. So again, I'm just going to copy this. And you have a couple different ways based on how I set this up. So you could take this and these are our elevations. So you could do an individual box for each one. And no, copy, move. So you could do this where you just copy this a couple times. And then go in here and shift it once. Shift it twice. And shift it 3 times. And then we can adjust these, or alternatively, I might have to move the sections to the first page. So let's cut these out of here. I'll paste them in here. That's a little bit tight. Just do a couple tweaks here. Let's get all these. Try and keep things neat and lined up. That's the other big thing. Don't have, don't have these spaced erratically. Have them neatly aligned. What happened to this one? Did I not grab it? Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm not crazy. That was just gone. Okay. Have them kind of close to the drawing, lined up well. The better you have things organized, the more competent you look. We could optionally shift these, but if I was going to do this, which I probably will, because we're running out of, I don't want to do a third page. We could, but I don't want to. So I'm just trying to have these lined up. Right there. So I'm just trying to visually get some of these lined up so that I don't have them all over the place, but I also don't want to have like, what I don't want to see, I guess what I'm saying is having like that, you know, or just they're spaced weirdly. So try and keep like a nice grid, keep things, you know, I have a little bit of slightly off spacing here. That's not too bad, especially once we turn off the viewports. You can kind of see these are nicely lined up. But again, I don't want to see like some of these tags like over here or this tag being completely out of line with the other ones. If you're going to shift things around, shift them around, but shift them around in groups. Okay, so we'll go ahead and oops, turn our viewports back on. We're still messing with them. Go away. Okay, so now that we've got this back here, back to what I was talking about for this. Move. So we've got this set up right here. The alternative way of doing this is you could take this whole set right here, let the computer do the hard work and copy things for you. Is you could do this the way that I have these spaced out is pretty decent spacing to just do this. You can group them a little bit tighter, but again, or this is going to go north, east, southwest. This same thing did here. If you want to do it in a different order, you'll have to do what's up here at the top. And see how this is the kind of an example of what I'm talking about here. So these are spaced, these labels are spaced evenly, but everything else around them is not. So if I wanted to do this, I would just kind of shift these over. This has to come over here. This has to go right there. And then this has to come over. And some of these, like this one, is just too wide. I'm going to have to shrink this down a tiny bit. Same with this one. Whereas these are, again, these are spaced a little bit better, but if I wanted to draw them in a different order, I'm going to have to start adjusting the labels themselves. So we'll put that label right there. So here's two different ways, basically, that you can do this. And you're achieving the same result, just let me turn off the viewports now. We can see what that looks like. So those are, again, what I'm looking for is straight lines, not necessarily like perfect grid. Use the space you have effectively. So like right here, this space is probably too big. I'd probably go in and shift this over. Same with this. This should be shifted over. Okay, so we have our title block, we have our drawing labels. The last thing we need to do is actually number these things correctly. So let's go over here. We have, on this page, we've got our sections. So our sections are going to be A100. So we'll do prop to get the properties window, page number A100, and then I'm just going to copy that. And then, no. And then that way I can just paste it in here. Oh. Paste it in there and hit enter. Actually, I guess I'll just select all of these because technically they're all going to be A100. And then, let's see which one's which. So we'll go ahead and call this, this one's going to be drawing 1, 2, 3, 4. This one's going to be drawing 5. And again, just also double check to make sure your scale, we're doing all this in 1/4 inch, so these scales are fine. And then this is going to be, what are we going to call this? Section cut east. And then we'll call this one section cut north. Okay. So 4 and 5, east is going to be 4, so we'll select this and this. Drawing number 4. This and this. Drawing number 5. Okay. Let's talk about these elevations. So both sets of elevations, page number is going to be A101, no matter what's going on. This one is going to be drawing A, and then we'll make, so we're going to go northeast, southwest. It's the easiest one to kind of remember when you're working. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then this one's going to be, oops, deselect all that. This one is going to be drawing B, caps lock. North 1, 2, 3, and 4. So then now we'll go over here and let me see which one is which. So this one is room 1 is going to be drawing 1 or drawing A. That's the one with our kitchen cabinets in it. So we'll go over here, kitchen cabinets. Yeah, so this is A, and then we'll do A1, A2. We can, I didn't make these blocks right, yeah. We'll make this A3, and we'll make this A4, and then we'll do the same thing with this next set. So this will be B1, B1, B2, B3, and B4. Okay, and then back to this page, and we'll just renumber these as 1 because they're not part of a subset of drawings. This is just 2, and this is just 3. Okay, so now you can see, if we look at this plan view, we can see, okay, if I want to get the east elevation of this room, I go to A101, B2. So if I flip over here, A101, B2, that elevation. So that's what we're looking for as far as numbering those. Let's see. Yeah, elevations, sections. Yeah, that's it. So that should be everything there. Just do a couple double checks, make sure you've got everything aligned, that everything's set up correctly. Look for any little errors you might have if you've got, some weird spaces like I have with this. We can go ahead and move these in so that there's a little bit less of a gap right there. Whereas these are spaced out just because of the way I did that. So you can see there is a difference between the length of the sets of drawings there. But regardless, the label should be lined up with the drawing is what's important. And then, yeah, that's it. So if you haven't done the laser cut demo at this point, you're good to go here. Just turn off our viewports, and I will see you guys, if you haven't, in the laser cut demo.